Meeting. Everybody is present except for Dr. Ball. The Board of Directors organization, we will have the election for the 2026 officers. And Mr. Young, in the past it has been precedent that people who currently hold offices, is that?
Yes, the current officers for Lodi Unified School District Board also take similar roles or same roles as the corporation.
Okay, so we will elect officers. President, I will nominate myself.
Second.
Motion? We have a motion and a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And Vice President.
I nominate Sue McFarland.
Second.
And a vote?
Aye.
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 I'm sorry, we should be going. And Secretary?
Is I nominate Victoria.
Oh,
I'm like,
sorry,
sorry,
I don't know.
my brain's not
Is
functioning.
clerk-
Second.
Yep.
Okay.
And a board vote?
Aye.
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 Do they normally elect you, or do you just act as
Yeah. They elect.
they elect? Okay, so then also April Juarez historically has been
Yes.
the
I
CFO.
nominate you.
I second it.
Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
Who was the second?
Mr. Stroh.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Stroh. Are there any public comments on the minutes of January 14th Capital Facilities Corporation meeting? Any board comments? And we don't need to vote on that, correct?
No, we do.
Yep, it's an action item.
Motion.
Meeting
Sorry.
adjourned?
I apologize, it's an action item, so
That's what I was
you
thinking.
do call for a vote.
To approve the minutes
Yeah, call for
of
a
the
motion.
14th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a vote.
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned, 6:02.
Holy smokes.
Wow. Good job.
What, did you say something?
They're an unruly bunch.
Quick.
And just for the public, I would say that Dr. Ball will be present, but she has not arrived yet.
Okay.
Just so that's clear.
Sure. Okay. So now I'd like to call to order our January 20th board meeting. Everyone is present. Dr. Ball will be arriving shortly, but is not currently present. Any public comments on closed session items? Then I'd like to adjourn to Welcome to tonight's board meeting. Roll call, all board members are present. Student representatives, Layla from Bear Creek. Josiah is not here from Tokay. Nakran from Middle College. Did I say it close enough? Okay. Layla, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Ready, salute. I'd like to report on actions from closed session. The existing litigation claim 606864, motion by Mr. Porter, second by Dr. Ball. Board approved 7-0. Next, we have some special recognitions tonight, which is always a highlight for us. And Dr. Horton, or Mr. Lambert and Mr. Dawson, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Alexander, members of the board, Superintendent Young. We're honored this evening to have before you our Art Rap Memorial Essay Competition winners. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our principal at Reese Elementary, Miss Julie Voss, who will introduce our first place winner from Reese Elementary.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing Connie Howen, who is a 5th grade student in Mrs. Nichols' classroom. This young lady exudes the life skills of being empathetic, kind, confident, major perseverance, grit, confidence, and I could go on and on about this young lady. She holds all the life skills that will open doors to her future, and we are very, very proud of her and her accomplishments. But I also want to thank her teacher, Mrs. Nickel, who also opens the doors to our children's education and to their futures by allowing them to participate in a lot of community activities and many, many field trips. So she offers them these opportunities, and so Connie always takes part in all of those opportunities. And she has earned first place for the 5th grade place in Lodi through Lodi Unified School District students. So Connie, we're going to ask you to go ahead and read your essay. And Mrs. Nickel, do you have anything that you want to say? Okay, all right. I hope you guys enjoy it. She is ready to roll.
I know you're gonna be scared of this thing right here. So let's read it to you. Speak right into it, okay?
Okay. Have you ever been or known someone whose rights were violated or who was treated unfairly? I have. My brother has been one of those people numerous times, so I have first-hand experience on why this is terrible. It's been my job to help him through childhood, and I take my job very seriously, as is my older brother. Martin Luther King Jr. said something about it once, and those words are very true. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Violating someone's rights, treating people unfairly, these need to stop, and I'll tell you why. Silas, my little brother, has Down syndrome, so often people condescend to him, and that's treating him unfairly. A day that stood out to me was when I was at church with Silas, and he was playing with another boy with special needs called Victor, who also had an older sister to help him, and her name was Angel. At one point during the lesson, the boys started goofing off because they didn't know not to. Angel and I tried to help, but the teachers told us not to, and that they would help. The teachers didn't actually help and just left them in a corner, while Angel and I had to stay in the lesson, being unallowed to help. I knew it would happen, and then I watched it happening before my own eyes. As his big sister, I am the one who was supposed to help him and teach other people how to take care of him. I felt unwanted, pushed to the side like an unused resource. And I think Silas and Victor felt worse. It felt bad seeing him being treated the wrong way. It felt bad not being trusted to take care of him when I knew how, and they did, just because I was a kid. No one should be treated unfairly, no one's rights should be violated, but I know that these problems are continuously happening. It is very important that people recognize and understand how special needs work, and that these people have rights as well as any other people. Special needs is something I have come to recognize, being a sister of someone who has this, and I have also come to acknowledge the problems that these people have. It's a perfect example of how every day people are being treated unfairly. 69% of the adults in the U.S. report being discriminated against. That's over half of the U.S. Everyone has rights, everyone is human. No one should be treated unfairly. But even though we all understand that feeling of unfairness, this hasn't stopped. And all our lives are affected by this injustice. I think that this should not be pushed to the side. Your mind should be on this until everyone's rights are fully protected and everyone should be treated fairly. Everyone should be treated fairly. No one's rights should be violated. This is our community, and communities are places with a distinct feeling of fellowship with each other. But if this keeps going on, our community will not feel the same. Helping each other is a key part of the community, so why is this an ongoing problem? Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Think about that, and then think about the power behind those words. When you are next faced with a situation when you are mistreated, put the same power behind your words. Thank you.
One more. Here's your certificate.
Look over this way, Mr. Stroh.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Board President, Ms. Alexander, members of the board, Superintendent Young. For our 6th grade winner, I'm going to ask Principal Matt Heroes from Elkhorn Elementary to come up and introduce our 6th grade winner.
Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board, Superintendent Young. I am here to introduce Miss Grace G., an amazing Elkhorn 6th grader from Mrs. Anthony's class. Grace exudes the same sorts of qualities that Mrs. Vaz brought up about her 5th grader. This is not Grace's comfort zone. She is a reserved student with just amazing things going on behind those eyes. And she's worked really hard to practice for this. And we know she's going to do an amazing job. She practiced several times in front of her peers at school, both elementary and middle. She did an amazing job at the event yesterday. So here's Miss Grace G.
Good afternoon. When I was a baby, my family lived in Las Vegas. My family came from South Korea and they couldn't speak English well.
You're too tall to have it down that low.
When I was a baby, my family lived in Las Vegas. My family came from South Korea and they couldn't speak English well. My parents only lived there for about 4 years. Life was hard. My dad had to work and my mom had to take care of us. James was 10, David was a very chatty toddler, and I was an infant. They had a lot of problems in their life. That wasn't the only problem. Our homeowner treated us very unfairly. She constantly came over, even though she was never invited. She often raised the rent and spoke to my parents in a very disrespectful and rude way. Even though my parents were annoyed and upset, they didn't do anything. They stayed quiet. My oldest brother, watching my parents feel upset, often wondered if we did anything wrong. Later we realized that not everyone in this world is kind or fair. Some are unfair and bitter. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly." He was saying how important it is to treat everyone the same, because one day the way we treat others will come back to us. If we treat others with hate, that will spread. But if we treat others with kindness, that kindness spreads too. We are all connected. We are all one. This experience at the homeland taught my family a lot. If someone is racist or rude, it only lights a fire inside and will grow until it bursts. That person expressed their bitterness by being mean and racist too. But if you are kind, you will pour water over that fire. You will soothe and calm their mind. Then the cycle continues and they will be kind too. You should pour water over their fire. Be kind. Don't cause the fire. Love people for what they are. Be kind, be loving, be encouraging. Just one simple word from you can change their life. But you decide. Be mean or kind. The Bible says, "And a second is like it, shall love your neighbors as yourself." Matthew 22:39. As it says, love others as you want to be loved. Love people whatever they look like and act like, where they came from, what race they're, what skin tone they have. Because in the end, we are all the same. We are all one.
Do we have any board comments that anybody would like to share? Ms. Lenderman?
Thank you very much for those beautiful speeches, and it's amazing to see the power of one individual and how they could influence others around us. Those microclimates are really important in this world today, and what you guys are creating with the words that you guys are spreading is very important. So thank you.
Thank you. They were beautiful. Thank you very much. What a great way to start tonight. Continuing on with wonderful recognitions, we have the 2026-27 Teachers of the Year.
President Alexander, members of the board, Superintendent Young. It's my honor, on behalf of the Personnel Department and the Selection Committee, to acknowledge the Teachers of the Year. It is a privilege to recognize them this evening and celebrate the remarkable contributions they make to our students' success. We'd like to begin by having our first Teacher of the Year join us up here, William Yates, and Beth Gordon is his second.
Good evening. I don't even know where to begin. My journey with Bill began a little over 5 years ago. We were both newbies at Sutherland. And in this time, I have watched him bring together our structured team for our mod severe autistic students. They work very well together. His leadership has pushed forward a community that is strong amongst our students, our staff, and our parents.
Yes!
Bill has gone out of his way to mentor new teachers. He advocates for what he believes is right for his students. But his reach doesn't just stop with the world of our structured kids. His impact can be felt across our campus, from helping design lessons for our school-wide RCA implementation for the house meetings, helping me make a video to demonstrate how to pick up your child at the end of the day. More importantly, he helps us find ways to be inclusive of all of our students He has taken the extra steps that when we do crazy things, like the school-wide trip to the Oakland Zoo today, that their students are prepared and able to attend successfully. But his reach doesn't just stop here at Sutherland's doors. He has researched and advocated for curriculum that truly meets the needs of his special population, and that was adopted district-wide. He has made a point of help create gatherings for other SPED teachers to build the community beyond just our Sutherland doors. So I am so thrilled to be able to have William Yates recognized today.
Thank you very much for this honor, President Alexander, Mr. Young. Well, I think it's a little crazy to give someone like me an untimed opportunity to speak to you. I do appreciate it. I want to begin with a sound. I hope you can hear it. You'll have to listen close, and you probably missed it, but it'll make sense later. I'll come back to it. I have to tell you about another sound I got 2 weeks ago, a call, and my phone said Lodi Unified, and I thought the next sound I would hear is, this is a technology service announcement. But it wasn't, it was a person, and then she said she was from personnel, and for a split second I thought I was in big trouble. And then I figured I was going to give a reference for someone who was just about to get hired. And then she said something about a committee meeting and then said, you're the teacher of the year for Lodi Unified. And I was shocked because of all the times I've talked to you, I never thought you guys would give me an award like this. And so I want to tell all my teacher friends, please advocate, share. As Brenda Sola said those words, I now know what those actors at those award shows, when they run up to the stage and they can't say anything, and it's not an act. I was stunned immediately, instantaneously. My mind went to all the people who had taught me. It's weird to say, but it's an incredibly humbling moment. As a follower of Jesus, I'm told to humble yourself before the Lord and he will lift you up in honor. And what I thought about was how much I needed the help I got when I got it at the right time and at the right place. I thought about my friend Jerry Willis. We call him JD. He was the only other teacher at the first special needs school I taught at. He was the one who every day showed me how to handle myself when working in really difficult situations. He became my mentor and taught me how to always focus on my own 3 feet because he's actually an offensive line coach. And the phrase is, you can only take control of what is 3 feet around you. Take responsibility for yourself. And then I thought about Holly. I thought about Holly's here tonight. And Liz and Ingen, they're 3 amazing women who are behaviorists, and they taught me how to help students who have severe behaviors. And this all happened in my mind so incredibly fast. More and more people, they came into my life at the perfect time. And I sat stunned around my current amazing team and said, I just won Teacher of the Year. And they got really excited, and for the next couple of weeks, they've just been rewarding me and praising me, and I've had a lot of time to think about this wild journey. But see, I never wanted to teach. Honestly, I know the best teacher in this district. The teacher of the century, the greatest encourager I have ever had. It's my wife, Lori. And you know her by legal name, Martha. She's the one that told me to substitute teach because I needed a job to pay the bills while I worked at being a pastor. And that does not pay the bills. And for 7 hard years, I worked as a substitute, and if you don't know, sometimes students can be mean to substitutes, so it was hard. And then I was recruited to teaching general education classes to adults at a college. And then one Sunday, I got a text from a student saying, did the school just close? And it had. I lost my job. But a year prior to losing the job, my friend Harry Brown came to me and asked if the school he owned, Stockton Educational Center, could move to our church. And he said they taught students with disabilities and had been removed from their public school because of their behaviors, so they had to go to a special school, a school I'd never heard of called the non-public. Could the school come to the church? And we said yes. And immediately God brought up to mind when Jesus said, and the king will say, I tell you the truth, whatever you did for one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing to me. So we had to open the church. and the church agreed. And then a year later, I was unemployed and pretty desperate for a decent job, and Harry offered to hire me and get me credentialed as a special education teacher. And I want to tell you, I cried the night before I became a special education teacher, because I would miss the give and take I had in the college classes, the light bulbs that I would go off. I had no idea how to teach a student who was intellectually disabled, autistic, might punch me, might kick me, might hurt themselves. Yet this was the path that God had laid before me. So I began a job I didn't want to do and didn't really want, but any follower of Jesus should know we don't work for a principal, we don't work for a boss, we don't work for a board, we work for Jesus. Because he said, work with enthusiasm as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. I was an awful teacher to begin. Awful. I was an intern with no idea what to do, but I was surrounded by amazing people. And my teacher's college mentor, some of you might know, Irene Ishida. If you don't know her, she wrote the very first IEP for Lodi Unified. I was truly blessed by her because her whole life had not been like mine. She valued others. And we have forgotten that in our culture, the value of all people, especially those with disabilities. I had a disabled friend, but I had no idea how to really make an impact in her life. I thought they were the least. I just said that. But Irene dedicated her life to them. Holly, Liz, Ingan, they dedicated their lives. I got to know others in new ways. Amanda Quinn, who's a teacher in this district, she already knew her from church, and she gave me so much encouragement as already a seasoned special education teacher. But there were others like Amanda. People came from another district to SEC, to Stockton Ed Center, to work with students, but also showed a genuine care and discipline. There was Melanie Ducey, Rhonda Baumgartner, Jennifer Jasper, Tracy Schallenberger, Aisha Bryce. Not only did they care for their students, they would teach me. When you humble yourself, God already told us what would happen. And when I was teaching in the college, I taught statistics, teaching about the bell curve. That when you look at averages, a curve starts to happen. And a bell curve shows that most results are right there in the middle. And then fewer results happen on the farther edges. And in education, we can think of some students are incredibly intelligent. Most children are in the middle. So we honor those who achieve incredible essays and intelligence or athletics, incredible work, but we often forget about the other end of the curve. I was at the other end of the curve. Because to enter into special education, a person needs to be regarded as low or very low in some area that impacts their ability to benefit from general education. It's a fancier definition, but it doesn't matter. I spent all my time thinking about only one side of the bell before this. God showed me that these people are the two sides to a bell. Because only with two sides does a bell make a beautiful sound. In 2020, I was at an incredibly low moment in my life. Many of us were outside, but as a pastor, having to go inside, outside, and along in the parking lot, it was tough. It was very tough. But my wife said, you need to go to a district. And I thought about all those people who had mentored me from Lodi Unified, and I wanted to come to Lodi Unified. I got hired for an elementary school. I'd never taught elementary before. But you equipped me with two amazing autism coaches. In Renee Aruda, who should be up here receiving awards from you every single week. And Sammy Freitas. I could go on and on and on and name for you your amazing teachers in this district. My team, who are amazing. For Tabitha and Yvette, and now Nagma coming on. My paras in my room, who are the best paras in the district. But my principal, who has allowed us to work together and encouraged us to collaborate and to work with our paras to create new systems. And I just really, really appreciate being able to be here with these people. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Next, Next, I would like to ask Therese Soria to join us up front with her principal, Matt Harris.
President Alexander, members of the board, Superintendent Young, me again. I am truly honored to introduce Therese Soria, our middle school Spanish teacher at Elkhorn School. Therese is quiet wisdom and power. When you go into her classroom, it's bell to bell. She greets the students at the door in Spanish, welcomes them. They have to respond in Spanish. They go right to work. There are like 6 or 7 alarms going off to transition from activity to activity. When we got the news from personnel that Therese received this award, the next day I called the staff in. I informed them all that Therese received the award. Everyone was ecstatic. I went into every single middle school class and let them know. Every single face brightened up. Not one shock as to, what? Mrs. Soria's room is right outside my back window. I heard her second period class give her thunderous applause as they walked into her classroom. Here's just a few things I'd like to showcase about Mrs. Soria from the application we submitted to the county for hopefully her receiving County Teacher of the Year. She believes language acquisition is most effective when students feel confident, valued, and connected to the content, and she intentionally designs instruction that is accessible to learners of all backgrounds and abilities. She designs purposeful lesson plans that reflect curriculum goals and promote higher order thinking. Mrs. Soria creates a supportive, respectful, and engaging classroom environment where all students feel safe to participate and grow. Her classroom culture is rooted in positivity, encouragement, and strong relationships, fostering both social development and academic success. Mrs. Soria establishes a safe, inclusive, and respectful classroom environment where all students feel valued and supported. And here's some really, really amazing data that I was able to get with the help of Ebba and a lot of digging. In 2019-20 was the first year that Elkhorn began recognizing students for the pathway to biliteracy. Since that time, 37% of Mrs. Soria students have achieved this honor. Even more amazing, at the end of the 2024-25 school year, 51% of Mrs. Soria students were recognized with this achievement. Last year, we gave the Avant test for the first time. Mrs. Soria's students were able to show their Spanish aptitudes for high school placement. 97% of the students met or exceeded the prerequisites for Spanish 3 or higher. And currently, 21% of those students are enrolled in Spanish 4 or AP Spanish as 9th graders. And the most impressive stat of all, if that wasn't super impressive, 35% of Mrs. Soria's former students who have graduated from Lodi Unified Schools have received the state seal of biliteracy in Spanish. Oh, by the way, she's a mother of 5 children, ages 18, 14, 9, 6, and 3. Please welcome Mrs. Soria.
Good evening, President Alexander and members of the board. First, I have to say, I'm not used to the spotlight. And if somebody had told me in 2007 that I was going to be awarded the Teacher of the Year, I would have not believed it. I started working for Lodi Unified as a peer educator in Morada Middle School for a few years. Then I continue as an attendance clerk, but my true passion was to be in the classroom, working with the students. As a language learner myself, I learned English as a second language. I wanted to pass on that all the benefits of learning a second language to the students. So I went into majored in Spanish 1, became a Spanish teacher, had to leave Lodi Unified to do my student teaching, and then came back when I had the opportunity. I've been at Elkhorn for almost 10 years, and I'm truly honored to be part of the Elkhorn community. So this award is for all the parents, for the supporting staff, for my principal that is always supporting me with my ideas, and the students. So it's a true honor, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Therese. Next, I would like to ask Lon Fawn to join us up here with her principal, Nicole Vertar.
Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board, Mr. Young. It is my honor to present to you Lon Fawn, a teacher at McNair. She has been there for over 10 years as a member of our special education department. She teaches our resource students. She's a very well-respected member of her department, a co-department chair, and a very much respected member of our site staff. Ms. Fawn advocates not only for her students that are on her caseload, but for our general education students school-wide. She works tirelessly, effortlessly, and as hard as she can to make sure that all of our students graduate. And she also is part of our before and after school program. She is the advisor for NHS. She's part of our MESA program. She does a lot. So I am very thankful for her, and it's my honor to introduce her to you this evening.
Thank you. This is a very humbling experience. I'm honored to be recognized as a special education teacher. I'd like to thank my colleagues at McNair High School for their continued support, and my loved ones for putting up with me.
Thank you so much, everybody, for that wonderful presentations as we're going through. Next, we'd like to give some recognitions to newly certified national board teachers. Ms. Church.
President Alexander, members of the board, I would like to welcome Amy Ramsauer, Melissa Shepard, and Cindy Burnell to the podium.
Good evening, President Alexander, school board members, and Superintendent Young. We would like to take a moment to recognize an important accomplishment in our district, one that directly impacts the quality of teaching and learning in our classrooms. In 2016, our district had one national board certified teacher, Lori Solis. Today, we proudly have 13, with the most significant growth occurring over the last 3 years. The progress reflects intentional district support, including dedicated resources and a monthly support cohort that guided teachers through this rigorous national board certified process.
Sorry, we're going to switch here. National Board Certification is one of the most demanding professional credentials in education. Teachers pursuing certification closely examine their instructional practices, use multiple forms of student data, differentiate instruction, and continually adjust learning based on evidence of student learning. As a result, students benefit from more intentional data-informed instruction, increased student engagement and ownership of learning, instruction that is responsive to diverse learners, and consistent use of high-impact instructional strategies aligned to academic standards. Research consistently shows that students taught by National Board Certified Teachers demonstrate higher levels of achievement and deeper learning. In our district, this translates into classrooms where instruction is more focused, feedback is more meaningful, and learning experiences are designed to meet the needs of all students.
Beyond their individual classrooms, our National Board Certified Teachers serve as instructional leaders. They share effective instructional strategies, practice mentoring colleagues, and contributing to professional learning. The collective impact strengthens teaching across our schools, multiplying the benefits for students. This growth is not just a professional milestone for our teachers. It's a strategic investment in student success. The increase from 1 to 13 National Board teachers demonstrates what is possible when districts support professional learning and a focus on student outcomes are aligned. We want to thank the district for their continued commitment, supporting our educators, and most importantly, the students that we serve. So tonight, we are excited to celebrate our 6 newest National Board Certified Teachers. And they are as follows. So y'all make your way. We also really want to thank you for letting us be at this board meeting, because we do have one teacher that's going off on maternity leave by the end of the week. So we were under the gun. Our first recipient is Caitlin Clark. She's a Millswood Middle School teacher. She's certified in early adolescence, social studies, and history. Second, we have Leilani Esagura, Millswood Middle School also, certified in early adolescence, English language arts. The trend, Olivia Gandy, Millswood Middle School, certified in early adolescent social studies and history. Next we have Cynthia Gorman from Larson Elementary. She's certified in middle childhood generalist. We also have Elizabeth Hoon from Morado Middle School, and she's certified in early adolescent through young adult physical education. And rounding out the group, we have Samantha McCoy from Elkhorn. She's certified in early adolescent science. So these folks worked really, really hard, and just to be clear, this is a very long process, and for most people it takes them 2 to 3 years to complete this. So it is not, I mean, there are some people that are, I don't even understand, they're superhuman, they do it in one. But these guys, superhuman powers. But it's a long process. And so we really, really want to take the time to really recognize them for that. We also have our maintenance of certification. Melissa Shepard has maintained, so she is now certified for another 5 years.
Congratulations, that's amazing. I've seen to go from 1 or 2 to now 6. The progression of that is, I just am in awe of all of you, because I know the hard work that it takes to do that, so congratulations.
I'd like to declare the intent to convey the easement to the City of Lodi for the Nichols Elementary School Modernization Project number 09278227 26-35 open. Do we have any public comments? Do we have any board comments? I declare the public hearing closed. Next, I'd like to declare the Lodi Unified School District contract reopeners with Lodi Education Association for a successor agreement open. Any public comments? Any board comments? I'd like to declare the public hearing closed. Next, I would like comments from our student representatives, starting with Ms. Layla Shelton from Bear Creek.
Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board, and Superintendent Neil Young. My name is Layla Shelton. I serve as the ASB president at Bear Creek High School, and this is my student report. I hope everyone enjoyed their break. For school activities and programs, Bruin Night. Bear Creek's Bruin Night is being hosted today, January 20th, from 6 to 8 p.m. in our big gym. Tonight, Bear Creek programs and clubs are able to show our incoming students what Bear Creek has to offer. Speech and debate. The Bear Creek Speech and Debate team continues to have a successful season as they finished second overall at the December tournament hosted by Lodi High. The teams will be competing in the state and national qualification tournament in just a few weeks to make their way back to the state championship being held in Union City and the national championship this summer being held in Richmond, Virginia. We wish them the best of luck and are proud that they speak for the Creek. Conflict mediation. Students are busy meeting with new students to make sure that their transition to BC is smooth. We are following up with students who might need extra support with their classes in the second semester. We are also working on learning the new curriculum for next year as our course title has changed to peer mediation/peer resources, and our course is not A through G. We are also working on creating lunchtime activities that will support mental health, and these presentations will happen during the third and fourth quarter. Link Crew. Since November, Link Crew has completed follow-up check-ins with their assigned freshmen and hosted winter formal here on campus. This month, they are doing another check-in with their freshmen and presenting in freshman English classes about goal setting and choosing classes for the rest of high school. Project Bruin. Project Bruin has completed check-ins with students that are joining BCHS mid-year. They have also hosted a Gobblegram fundraiser where students and staff can have notes of gratitude delivered to people that they are thankful for. And lastly, they have created a 2026 Bruin Goal Wall art installation outside of the office and leadership classroom. Sports. Senior night for boys and girls soccer, basketball, and wrestling teams are coming up in late January and early February. Black Excellence. Black Excellence has a mentoring program at 3 elementary sites, Larson, Emmanuel Silva, and Julia Morgan. 15 mentors, oh my goodness, which are BC students spread across the 3 sites, conducting monthly group sessions with students at each elementary school to empower and bolster self-confidence of African American students while increasing cultural awareness and sensitivity. Some upcoming events that they have is a movie night. They will be attending Black College Expo in Oakland, California, Black History Month Assembly, Knowledge Ball, Unity Rally, and attending the NAACP Youth Summit at Delta College. Student Government. Superintendent visit. On December 3rd, our very own superintendent came to visit our Bear Creek leadership team. There we were able to have some amazing conversations about his career. Along with that, Bear Creek leadership was able to give a presentation of what we've been working on. So thank you, Mr. Young, for stopping by. We were very thrilled. Peace March. As Bear Creek students, we came together to support our community after the recent tragedy in Stockton. We organized a peace march to uplift student voices and stand together in unity. We walked from campus to the site of the tragedy with signs for peace and change, honoring the victims with handmade flowers and posters. Winterfest Spirit Week was from December 8th to the 12th, and then on December 12th we had our Winterfest rally. This included all winter sports and 2 performance clubs. Our theme for the rally was the Wizarding World, which was based on the Harry Potter movie. This rally was a success and definitely brought the BC school spirit. Finally, our Winterfest dance was held on December 13th, and our Lead Crew program did an amazing job coordinating the dance. The theme for this dance was Swan Lake. Stranger Things Spirit Day. On January 16th, Bear Creek hosted a Stranger Things Spirit Day, the theme being Crawl at the Creek. Students were tasked with wearing 80s clothing or Stranger Things outfits. Along with that, we had a Stranger Things inspired lunchtime activity with a costume contest. We brought great spirit and had an amazing day full of joy. ASB Clothing Drive. ASB is hosting a clothing drive from January 15th to the 29th. We are accepting donations of clothing, shoes, canned food, toys, and books. Even though the Christmas season is over, we believe that it is never too late to give back. Student government applications. Student government applications for the 2026-2027 school year are now open, which is crazy because I feel like I just got my position, but okay. We are at the point of the year where we have to start thinking about next year's leadership team. Applications are due on the 23rd, and the next step is the interview process. Performances. Our Copper Club, True Legacy Club, and cheer team did an amazing job performing at our Winterfest rally. Special student/staff accomplishments. Congratulations to our Winterfest King and Queen, Erish Chun and Paul Pugtran. And our staff members of the week are Miss Jeanette and Miss Swanson. Upcoming events. BC Leadership will be visiting Julie Morgan on January 22nd to read to kindergartners and second grade students. Currently, our freshman and sophomore class are planning a fun Valentine's Day event. Currently, our student leadership students are working very, very hard to make this year's international rally the best one yet. Here are some dates. So our international marketplace will be held on Wednesday, March 4th from 2:30 to 4 p.m. It is open to students, staff, teachers, and community. And our international rallies will be held on March 5th and 6th from 6 to 8:45 p.m. Our ASB Vice President, Audrina Majano, is working very, very hard to bring all of our visions to life. Stay tuned for more details. And then finally, our prom will be held on April 11th. That concludes my report. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next from Middle College, Navakaran Sanju.
Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board, and Superintendent Neil Young. For school activities and programs, before leaving for break, around half of our student body enjoyed dancing at Winter Formal, and we received a lot of positive feedback from that. And then students enjoyed their winter break, and I've noticed a lot of them are coming back a lot more refreshed and ready for the new school, for the last semester. And college classes started Friday, January 9th, and students are now figuring out if their college classes are the right fit for them, as the drop of the W date is narrowly approaching this Friday. Many seniors have received college acceptances from CSUs as well as a few other private universities, and we are all cheering each other on. For student government, we reflected on our winter formal upon coming back to school, seeing what we did well and what we need to improve on for next year. With Kindness Week approaching next week, we're planning on having a Leave a Compliment, Take a Compliment jar to spread some joy. Additionally, some members are making promo videos to encourage students to participate in Kindness Week. At the start of February, student government is excited to host our annual movie night. We'll be putting on Howl's Moving Castle and providing free snacks and drinks. And then for Counselor Appreciation Week, which is going to be February 2nd through the 6th, our members are making Miss Khan and Miss Campos posters, and we'll all sign those just to show our gratitude and appreciation towards them. With Spring Rally coming up on March 27th, we've posted a graphic and are collecting royalties and game representatives right now, talent show and MC auditions, and our MCs just introduce they just introduce everything throughout the event. They'll be held on February 3rd and 4th, and it'll allow executive members to finalize our acts. For performances, presentations, and events, a representative and former MCHS student from UOP came to present about the College Corps program, and then many clubs are getting back into the groove of the year and are meeting with board members to help plan for the semester. A lot of them haven't planned events yet, but they are hoping to do so in March. And then Mesa is holding scrimmages these next 2 weeks. Today was for Mesa Machine and Moonbase, and they'll be holding scrimmages to see what teams can pass MCHS, what teams can pass for MCHS to compete at Mesa Day. For special student slash staff accomplishments and recognitions, in Senior Avid, we're working on scholarship research and researching career paths and professionals, and we'll be interviewing 2 professionals within a field of interest over Zoom. And then for co-curricular, Mesa Day will be held February 28th to prepare. Our club has been testing prototypes and studying. And then Academic will be having their regional competition on January 31st. Students are studying rigorously to prepare for the event. And then upcoming activities and events, academic regionals are on January 31st. Movie night is on February 6th. Kindness Week is January 26th through the 30th. And then Counselor Appreciation Week is February 2nd through the 6th. And Spring Rally will be on March 27th. And then we also have prom on April 18th. Thank you.
Are there any comments from the board or questions for our student representatives? Very nice, thank you. Always a lot going on. Our superintendent's report, please.
Yes, President Alexander, members of the board. 2 items I just wanted to share with you. Saturday, I was invited to participate in the AAUW, which is the American Association of University Women. It was a forum where I was joined by the Lincoln and Stockton superintendents and the county superintendent. It was a chance to share about our district, brag about our district, but it was also a chance to take questions. I think what was great was how many former Lodi Unified teachers were there who are now retired, and it was a great chance to connect with all of them and talk about our district. Well, while that was happening on that beautifully foggy day, and it was definitely foggy, what amazes me is that Tokay's FFA 6th annual grapevine pruning contest happened at Cowitz Farms in Lodi. I'm guessing none of you went on that beautifully cold, foggy day. Did you go?
Yeah.
Except for Mr. Stroh, who seems to show up at amazing events. So there were over 75 FFA members in attendance from across the state. They had to take a written exam. They had to go into the vineyard to do 3 different kinds of pruning. And for each type of pruning, the students had to prune 2 vines in a timed amount, then prune their 3rd vine in front of judges. I can't say pruning in front of judges sounds anything but humbling. So here's the great news. Our Tokay FFA Team A placed 1st, and Nathan Blagg placed 2nd overall, and Abraham Lopez Chavez placing 5th. So it was overall a great day for the pruning event held by Tokay's FFA. I have nothing further. Move it on.
Awesome. Michelle, do we have comments from the next we'll have comments from the public. A 20-minute period is allocated for the public to address the board on matters not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If there are numerous speakers, time limits may be adjusted. To share materials with the board, please provide them for staff distribution. Due to restrictions under the California Brown Act, the board cannot engage in discussion regarding public comments. Please remember to state your first and last name before starting. Michelle, Oregon?
Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board, and Mr. Young. A new year, a new LUSD. First, I want to say thank you. IBB training, interest-based bargaining. I'm excited to hear that the district is pursuing this, and bargaining and training with Leah. I hope this leads to less expensive meetings where the voices that understand LUSD are at the table and not necessarily an attorney who benefits from possibly dragging out longer to make more money. Second, I want to thank the board for moving public comments to the beginning of the meeting. I appreciate that and think that that helps everybody in their agenda. Thank you so much for recognizing the special teachers and students tonight. It was such a pleasure to hear that. I want to talk about respect of teachers and the love that we recognize them and the job that they do. I think that you know we have some fabulous teachers that you've highlighted tonight and those that have been in the audience, especially those national board. That was wonderful to hear. However, many teachers are working beyond their contract hours. And unfortunately, some of your district priorities have led those teachers to losing their prep time during the day. And as you know, prep time is highly valuable. Tonight, to keep up with communication with what happened in my classroom today, I sent messages from 3 to 6 to many parents. Sending those messages out is an integral part, but I can't do that for 3 hours every night. Prep time is good for being able to use that. However, when a primary teacher only has 70 minutes in a week and they are given 13 pages of documents to fill out regarding an IEP for a student or an SST, that takes away a lot of planning time for lessons. You need to be given the time to prepare for those anticipatory sets, preparing the vocabulary, preparing the visuals for all those activities in the lessons. Yet, when a district site meetings are scheduled during your prep time and you are not compensated for that time, you are asking teachers to work for free. That teaching time to make those lessons best is important. I hope that the district looks at this and how it is being infringed upon teachers at all levels. If those district and site priorities are important for during the day, then you need to honor our preparation time for our lessons. Please, bargain this. We've asked for extended prep time, but now you're taking it away for district priorities and trainings that you feel is valuable. Please see the value in that preparation time and either compensate your teachers or plan around those trainings so that we do not lose out on preparation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have comments from employee group representatives. The representatives from each group will have 3 minutes to comment on non-agendized items.
President Alexander, members of the board, excuse me, Mr. Young. I thought my colleague was going to be here, but he's not. So first of all, I just have to say, this is one of my favorite meetings ever because we're honoring teachers. I've had the privilege to know all of our teachers of the year in a professional way. Bill is a leader within the association and has taught me so much about special ed, but he's just also taught me about how to see everyone in a different light. He often takes a perspective that is unique, and I am just so grateful for him because he kind of helps me step back and be a better leader. Teresa Soria worked when I was at Murata, she was a paraeducator and then our attendance clerk. And I remember when she was going off to get her student teaching, I could not have been prouder. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. Len Fan, when we had some issues at McNair, especially lately with the flood we had that particularly affected the special ed pod, she stepped up and advocated for her colleagues, helped me to get a different perspective of the situation, and I am grateful for her. I just wish all of our teachers could be honored because they're all unique in their special way and help lift up our students. It's kind of a shame that we only get to pick 3 because there are just so many great examples within our district of wonderful teachers. As far as national board certification,
again, a really unique class. A lot of middle school teachers often get lost in this shuffle, and I'm so happy to see that we had so many middle school teachers certify. Because it's one of those things. Middle school is where you're really gonna catch them. You know, if you can't spark some interest by middle school for something that a kid wants to do in high school, you kind of lost them. It's not that they couldn't get that spark in high school either, but gosh, if we can get them in middle, that's just the best. I also wanted to thank you for moving the public comments forward along with the labor group comments. Some of my colleagues like to make these comments, and I have to be here anyway, it's part of my job, but thank you for that, and hopefully we'll get more students coming up as well. I'd like to encourage our high school representatives to get their colleagues to come out and bring forward some of the issues that are on their mind regarding school, because we often don't know them. I'd love to hear more of your perspective. Oh, okay, I know I'm still here. IBB training, that was great. I wish we had more of the cabinet there as well as a school board member. I'm just gonna say that. And then as far as the AAUW, I was one of the people who was working with AAUW to get speakers. I have to say that Mr. Young needed a little bit of convincing. But I just wanted to let him know that afterwards, I talked to several people, both from AAUW and also the League of Women Voters who helped put this together. And they told me that this was one of the best meetings, the best presentations they had ever attended. And they hope that we continue this because there's so many issues around education that they would love to get some more insights on. So I'm hoping that sometime in the future we have another one and Mr. Young will participate. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have public comments on consent agenda A. The public may address the board on consent agenda A, routine business. Each public speaker shall limit comments to 3 minutes. Please state your first and last name. Would the board or staff like to pull any items from consent agenda A?
Madam Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda A.
All right. Student vote.
Aye.
Aye. Board vote.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I had it. Yeah, I'm it's just okay. That's why I dropped it.
Motion passes. Next, public comments on consent agenda B. Public may address the board on consent agenda B, student matters. Are there any public comments?
I move we approve consent agenda B.
Second.
And students don't vote on this. Board vote, please. Yeah. I'm sorry, did I get you? Okay. There's some.
No, it's stuck on this one. I had to move back. It's over. We move
Do a
over.
verbal.
I think the next one will.
Okay.
Dr. Ball, we'll start with you.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Next, we'll have public comments on other action items. The public may address the board on other action items. Each speaker shall limit comments to 3 minutes. Are there any public comments on other action items? Item OAI1, the annual audit report ending June 30th, 2025. Ms. Suarez?
Thank you so much, President Alexander, I'm sorry. Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board. Before you is the annual audit report for fiscal ending June 30th, 2025 for your approval. Thank you.
Are there any student comments? Any board comments?
I move we approve.
Are we going to do, Michael, are we okay, or oral?
Just one moment. We need one more voice.
President Alexander, if you would do a verbal vote, that would be appreciated.
Okay. First, student vote, please.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Porter?
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Sunderman?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Item OAI2, approval of the 2024-25 development fee report. Mrs. Holbert?
Good evening, thank you, President Alexander, members of the board. So before you for approval is the 2024 developer fee report, the Monty report, with information on your impact fees received for new residential and commercial development.
Are there any student comments? Board comments?
I move we pass it.
Motion. Student vote, please.
Aye.
And are we okay to run, Michael?
No. Yeah, there should be.
We'll call for a board vote.
No, it should be.
Electronically.
Oh. Yay.
No, I'm still, it's. we're
Please
running
offer
on
demo
student
station.
discipline.
I'm on expulsion student.
Yeah, we're trying to expulsion.
What if you're sinking?
Oh, you didn't think?
No.
Are you sinking?
I got expulsion and at the top I got OAI 1-2.
It's not sinking.
We should be on
Okay.
OAI2.
President Alexander, members of the board, why don't we once again do a verbal vote, if you would?
I can vote now.
Dr. Ball, would you start us off, please?
Aye.
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 Yes.
7, it passes 7-0.
So many trillions on AI, we can't get this to work.
I know, as I would. Item OAI3, the resolution 2026 to 2009, hiring of short-term classified employees. Mrs. Church?
President Alexander, members of the board, before you for your approval tonight is a resolution for the hiring of short-term classified employees.
Student can I ask for student comments? Board comments? Yeah, Mr. Nava?
I move we approve.
Second.
Student vote.
Aye.
Aye. And board vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait, hold on. We'll start it with Mr. Porter.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have item OAI-4 resolution
2026, declaring certain property to be surplus property, the parcel of real estate. Any student comments? Board comments?
I move we pass it.
Mr. Stowe makes a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Student vote.
Aye.
Aye. And board vote. Dr. Ball?
Aye.
We
Aye.
can do this
We
electronically,
can do
can't
this
we?
one, I think.
Aye.
Aye.
No?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have public comments on reports. The public may address the board on reports. Each public speaker shall have 3 minutes. Are there any public comments on the reports? Next, we have Mr. Dawson with the State Seal of Civic Engagement.
Thank you, Board President, Ms. Alexander, members of the board, Mr. Young. I'm going to ask Ren Van Peck, Robert Winterhalter, and Kyle Shallcross to join me for this. So, Assembly Bill 24 established the State Seal of Civic Engagement in an effort to recognize students who demonstrate strong civic knowledge and skills, are active in civic life, and show an understanding of the United States and California constitutions. So Lodi Unified undertook this journey at the end of last school year, talked about what it was going to look like. This fall, met with a group of teachers, counselors, administrators, for the purpose of developing our processes and procedures and our requirements, and our goal was to enable our students to earn the State Seal of Civic Engagement. If you could go ahead 2 slides, please. So I'm going to ask Mr. Shallcross to talk about the 5 criteria that the state requires for the State Seal.
Let's see, can you navigate to that slide, please, which I think is the next one? Here, we see that, yeah. So overall, the 5 criteria are reinforcing that civic engagement is the primary focus for students to earn this State Seal. And this can be achieved in a variety of ways. Students can serve their communities through community cleanups. They can serve at the election polls as student election officers do, like at my school, Lodi High. And ultimately demonstrating some tangible and academic knowledge insofar as civic engagement, understanding of state and local government. So the understanding is that students will be on track to progress through their high school history, social science classes to achieve that, taking 10th grade world, 11th grade US, and then be on track to complete or have completed 12th grade government and economics. But ultimately, the intention of these criteria, and as you see listed here, is showing a tangible and academic understanding of civic knowledge, giving back to their communities, and overall civic participation. And again, this can be captured and demonstrated in a variety of ways, not limited to the examples I gave.
And then I'm going to ask Mr. Winterhalter to talk about the criteria that was developed by our district and our group that met last fall.
Thank you. So on the left side of the slide, we have the requirements that Mr. Shallcross just went over. On the right side, it's what does that look like actually for our students so that they can earn this State Seal of Civic Engagement. And so instead of just saying that a student has to be engaged in academic work in a productive way, what does that look like in Lodi Unified? It's the student must be on track to graduate. Going down to the next one, instead of, or in addition to just demonstrating understanding of US and California Constitution, governance, and democratic principles, it's the student needs to have at least that C-, that 2.0 or better in US government and 2 other social studies courses, which Mr. Shallcross went over. Not to read every single one to you, but you can see the Lodi Unified version for the middle one there is that students need to complete at least 1 civic engagement project that identifies a meaningful issue, takes informed action, and involves interaction with a system of power, right? They have to get involved, do something with their community. And once they've done that, then we have the verification kind of in the last 2, which is a submit a reflection portfolio, including project summary, reflection, and multimedia communication piece, so we can see what it is that they've done. And then finally,
Most of these students are going to have some sort of mentor or somebody that they're working with in the community to help address their issue. And so we want at least one recommendation affirming civic engagement and leadership from an adult advisor. And that could be somebody from within the district, or ideally somebody from outside the district who they've been working with.
I'm going to ask Ms. Van Peck to talk about our process for this year and what we think this could look like in the future.
This spring, we're hoping to roll it out for current seniors to earn their seal of civic engagement before graduation. Students are already doing the work, seniors are already doing the work. Now it's just getting the information organized and recognized. So this semester, we're hoping to pilot that. I see happiness in the eyes here. How are we gathering this information? We're going to use schoolings. There's 3 ways to use it, to submit the request and then collect their progress and upload the required artifacts. And this keeps the process centralized, transparent, and consistent across the high schools. And moving beyond that, beginning next school year, all high school students will have the opportunity to earn the seal upon graduation. So they can start it as early as sophomore year. This allows earlier planning, stronger integration into coursework and service learning, more consistent student support. And how middle schools can participate is they're not going to get their seal in 8th grade, but they will receive some kind of recognition. This builds early awareness, long-term habits, and alignment with college and career readiness. And so by doing this, we could get ahead of the game because there's discussion that it's going to be on the California dashboard as a CCI, and that way we can we're being more proactive in this way.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
That's a question. Okay, this reminds me of the senior project, but a little more hyper-focused, is that correct?
I don't look at it like that. It's not a requirement, it's an option. Students can do the work or they can't. Most of it comes from outside of the district. We're simply collecting it and determining if they met the criteria and moving on.
Okay, the 3 areas that concern me is complete 1 civic engaged in progress with the advice. I mean, if you'll lose, who is guardrailing that?
We have teachers at sites, starting with some of our AVID classes, some of our student governments who are going to be working, and then we'll have a group working with our college career team to look and see if what they've done have met the criteria.
Wouldn't there be extra work for them?
It hasn't. We've talked about what that's going to look like and how we can support that.
And then you have a reflection portfolio. That again would be some type of evaluation. Who's going to evaluate it?
Again, it'll be our group of teachers at the sites who are interested in participating and in our college and career team.
And that's going to be they're just going to do it pro bono?
We've talked about being able to compensate them in some way, depending on what it looks like and how much time is
So
required.
you're still vague on how you're going to be able to...
Yeah, we are. Sorry, we're rolling this out. We're not sure what it's going to look like. We have an idea. I've talked to other districts and talking to the curriculum director in Stockton Unified who rolled this out. He said that the lift isn't that heavy. The students do the work. We're simply verifying that it's been done.
Okay. And then your goal of C- or better to demonstrate and understand the U.S. and California constitutions. Do you think that is enough rigor?
We think it is, and looking at the state guidelines, it simply says to pass the classes. And when we look at students being able to be recognized, I go back to my time at Plaza Robles, where we have kids who do some really good work, who get engaged. Maybe they do not do well at all during their freshman and sophomore year. They come around junior, senior year, they get involved. They find something that they're passionate about. They find something that means something. They may not get to that 2.0, they may get C's in their classes, but they're going to do it. We want those kids to get the opportunity to be recognized along with our kids in the AVID classes and our kids in the student government classes.
And my final question is, since this is, and you brought up Plaza Robles, excuse me, how does this benefit them in terms of getting a job and so forth? Or preparing them for moving on in the employment world? Since this is supposed to be part of the CCI, and I assume this to be part of the college and career, how is that going to assist them?
I think it would be, having the seal on their diploma would be something that they could point to on a resume. A lot of times kids come out of high school, they have a hard time building a resume. Again, particularly some of our kids maybe from our all-TED programs who don't have the opportunities to be part of a lot of other things. If they can say, put on their application or on their resume that they've earned the state seal of civic engagement, show that they were involved, they met the criteria laid down by the state, and then we put out there.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Mark, is this voluntary or is it?
It's voluntary. It's purely voluntary.
Perfect, thank you.
A couple of questions.
Yes.
I love this. I think it's fantastic having one of my three loved history, civics, and so this would have been right.
In the microphone.
I'm sorry. Look at giving me the eyes. Would have been right up in her alley. So I love this because it's reaching another group of students. Love it. I do have some questions. The literacy, biliteracy seal of Spanish has a lot of rigor to it. And so this scares me. Is a civic engagement portion of it, is that like volunteering at a campaign? What does that look like? What does your project look like? And how do you judge that they are equal and they have the same amount of rigor? Because that's what scares me, that somebody is overseeing all of those different components.
Understood, and that's a lot of the conversations that we've had when we met, and researching what other districts have done and looking at the guidelines for the state. The guidelines for the state are nowhere near the level of rigor for the state seal of civic engagement as they are for the seal of biliteracy. So our job internally with us is to say, to look at the students' request, look at their proposal and say, yes, this is going to meet it, and then on the back end, look at what reflection they've done and say, yes, this meets our criteria. And we have rubrics that we developed to show that. But it's not the same level of rigor. Again, if you look at the criteria from the state, it's pretty wide open, because the goal, as I understand it, and talking to people, is that they really just want students to be involved. It could be volunteering at a shelter. It could be volunteering with the animal friends on the weekends. It could be working at a church. There's a lot open. We just want students the students are getting involved anyway. We want them to be involved and then reflect on that. What did this do? Maybe you can't change the world right now, but what can we do to maybe change it in the future, and reflect and use that as a reflection piece.
Great, thank you.
I have another question.
Mr. Porter?
Yeah, I was wondering, I'm all for the involvement side of it. We looked upon this as a graduation requirement, not this seal of certificate, but the idea of volunteerism.
I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I don't know that it's been talked about since I've been in this position.
I just wanted to say thanks for doing this, because there's a lot of kids who already do all these volunteer time and phone working. My kids have done it, and I think it's very important for the kids to understand the true constitution of this nation and this state. So I think this is great. Thank you.
I'm interested in hearing from our students, if you have any thoughts or opinion on this at all, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I think this is really cool. I feel like for a student who is very involved, who does a lot of community work, extracurricular things, I think being able to put all that work into something and be rewarded for that is really cool. My question is, like, what's the first step into, like, being able to apply or be able to, do this?
The first step is going to be working through school links and being able to upload your proposal, what you want to do, and then that process is in place, or will be made available very soon.
Okay, sounds good.
We
Thank you.
didn't want to start that process until we're able to report to our school board.
Thank you.
I think this is really cool because for our school, we have to do service hours, so it's really nice to be rewarded for that again. And I think a lot of people at our school would really appreciate that recognition. So I think it's a really good thing that you guys are doing.
Thank you. Mr. Young?
Yes, just a quick question. Was there any discussion about completing the process by mid-year so that when you're applying for college, you can include that information as part of that process?
That came up. For this year, the reality is getting a late start. We're looking at the March 13th date for everything to be submitted. Going forward, I think it can be, at the very least, to show somebody's on the pathway toward it, because if somebody's taking government in the second semester, they may not know. I mean, they can realistically put on their college application, they're gonna get it. If they don't graduate, then it's not gonna matter, so.
Makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that report. Next, we have the 2025 California School Dashboard results and annual accountability report. Dr. Horton.
Thank you.
Board President Alexander, members of the board, nice to see you all. I have with me Mr. Uwadaman, Coordinator of Assessment Research Evaluation. We're going to walk through our 2025 California Dashboard Local Assessment Performance Review. It's kind of an annual tradition that you see in California districts, but we're going to try and do it tonight with a little bit of a twist, and hopefully you will follow with us as we go through that. So next slide, please. So if you can follow with me where we're going to try and do this, we're going to take you from 30,000 feet and then work our way down to the ground level. So start with me all the way up there as if you're in the airplane, we're flying along, and we're going to look at this. We're going to look at state level data. We're going to talk about things that are truly at the kind of the highest, further away from the surface of the earth, and then work our way down.
Good evening, President Alexander, members of the board, Superintendent Yun. My name is Uwadaman. I'm the Coordinator of Assessment Research and Evaluation, and I have the pleasure of starting our data journey this evening with an overview of the California Dashboard indicators. Next slide, please. Oh, you do?
We almost rehearsed this in advance. So very quickly, I just want to take you on a quick journey on where we've been so far and why this is important as we get underway with this. One of the pieces in this story will all come together as we work our way through. One of them is back in fall 2024, we began the conversation of visible learning, and that's the research by John Hattie in that book about what are some of the research-based strategies that impact learning, whether it's teaching strategies or the things that students do in classrooms. We also started a conversation in fall of 2024 about college and career and why that's so important. So tonight, talking about the State Seal of Civic Engagement is just one more piece in that puzzle. Where we are now in winter 2025, we're talking about how we're bringing all these connections together. And then finally, as we move into spring 2026, we're going to have a conversation about how we consolidate the things that we've been doing and how we scale that out so that it can have a greater impact across the district. And now, on with the show.
So here we have a compilation of 3 years of the California Dashboard indicators, the state indicators specifically. And each cell in these indicators provides 3 bits of information. So the color represents the performance level for that indicator. And the performance levels range from a low of red, then go to orange, yellow, green, and blue as the highest. And also in each cell, you'll see a status and change. And status is the performance on that indicator, and change is the difference from the prior year. Sometimes that change doesn't equal out. That's because the California Department of Education will sometimes take those metrics and they'll change them a little bit about what they include. And when they do that, they have to go back to that prior year and do this little equating magic. So sometimes that data doesn't come out exact. But the good news here overall, most of these indicators show improvement. That's the good news. Not so good news is that improvement is very small in most cases. In fact, that's why we see on the college prepared indicator and also chronic indicator, even though we had improvement, we did drop from yellow to orange on those performance indicators. So that's our big 30,000 foot overview. What we want to do now is dig deeper, and we're going to do that by narrowing the focus, and what we'd like to do is just now focus on the ELA and math indicators. Next slide, please. So here we have, we're focusing now, though, just on those students that have standard met or above, or we could say those students that, as measured by CASP, are grade level ready. And we provided 3 years so you could look at trends and then compare those trends against the county and state and other districts in the valley. There's a lot to glean from here, but really the takeaway is that essentially for the past 3 years, our district, we have well, just under 40% of our students reaching that grade level readiness or higher. Next slide, please. This is, so that was for ELA, this is for Bath. Again, the same kind of analysis, 3 years, take a look at the trends, compare to county, state, other districts. Again, a lot to glean from, but really the takeaway here is under 30% of our students reaching that grade level readiness in math. So at this point, we do want to we want to drop that plane down and get a little bit closer to the ground. But before we do, are there any questions about what we've covered so far?
Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay. Really interesting, thank you. And this has become a passion of mine and with the board as well, I know that. We've talked about it, our student achievement, this is our scoreboard here, which is this test. I know we're going to talk about our ready later. I went back all the way to 2015 and looked at it year by year by year by year by year. And really, we flatlined. I mean, 1 or 2% here and there. I think in 2019 was our best year overall. And other than that, we are pretty much in the mid-30s on ELA, math, somewhere between high 20s and 30s. So for 2015 to 2025, you really don't see any significant impact. In fact, you're a statistics guy. A 1% is meaningless. It just doesn't mean anything, 1 or 2%. So my point is, for 10 years, we have not shown any increase at all, significant, except for 2019. And I'm wondering, with all the things that we approved, consultants and so forth, what is going on? Because there has been no change over a 10-year period based on this test score, on how we're doing here. And in fact, I looked at other school districts like Elk Grove, which has a similar socioeconomic and EL background as ours. They've had significant growth in their test scores. And then I also looked at, what was the other school district I looked at? Lincoln, based on their percentages, has improvement. Tracy, where's Fontana, Riverside, I believe? Rupa, Unified. And then Sanger, of course, got a shout out to the state this year, and they're also a PLC school district. They all have similar socioeconomic and SEL and EL students as we do, but yet they've had significant growth. So compared to us. So I guess my big question to you before we move into iReady, how do we go about, and maybe this is out of your ballpark, but the leadership starts here in this building with this board. How do we go about making significant changes? And I do a lot of reading, and if Ms. Alexander would give me a little bit of leeway here. I was thinking about, there's a governor in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. When he came in, he flatlined or zeroed out all his departments, budget-wise. And he told them to prove they need the money that they have. Show me the data that says you need the money. So I'm wondering if we need to do something drastic, because as we know, school districts now are changing, learning's changing, JCs are changing, white-collar jobs are diminishing, and we're going to have to change how we do education. With that being said, we have to be nimble. And is there room for radical change? I don't know. Are the departments that we have helping these scores get better? For 10 years it says no. So in terms of reflection, if you had what would you do to improve these scores? You talked about visible learning. Great. Will we see significant change next year, or is this a 3-year out, a 4-year out, a 5-year out plan?
That is a really good question. As we go on with the presentation, I think I'll give you the answer. It would lead me to this first, I would say. On the piece where we are right now with talking about state level data, here's one of the inherent problems with looking at state level data and trying to affect change. State level data is rearview mirror.
Correct.
you're looking at the autopsy. These are not students you have in front of you now. These are students you had with you a year ago.
Correct.
So looking at that as an instrument, we are, I think, hamstrung in many ways to say that that is the way to chart the path forward by looking at that, because the students that you could make a difference with are not the ones that are with, so the students in front of you now were not the cohort that took the test. So if you're looking at the test data from there, these students have either moved on to a new grade level with you or left the district altogether, or new students have come in and a new cohort is now in front of you. So the thing for me would be how to take your question and ask it, instead of looking at what was behind us, what can I do about what's in front of me now? So how can I prepare the students that I have in front of me now to be better prepared for whatever they're going to do, and make the change I can make in front of me where I have some impact and some possibility of change. If I'm looking at what happened, yes, I can learn from it, but it's not nearly as impactful as trying to support the teaching and learning that's happening day to day right now. So my focus on the presentation now going forward is to take all the concern that you've shared, that I agree with, and say, take that energy and instead focus on what can I do with the students in front of me now? How can I support teaching and learning day to day right now? Because I have a chance to impact the scores that are to come, but I can't affect the scores that were behind me.
Correct.
So with that said, let me turn the logical puzzle one layer lower, and it'll keep building the story and you'll keep asking the questions as we go, but this is leading it very nicely to that.
Yeah, I have a lot more questions.
So next slide, please. So bringing it down now from state level 30,000 feet to local data, what we want to look at then would be to say, is there a way to have the same look and feel as the state data, but with students I have in front of me today, so that I can start to get a correlation between the one and the other. So I'll turn it over to Uwe. We're going to do a quick walkthrough on some of these data points about why this could be an important logical pivot.
So we want to validate that data. We want to validate those instruments. And what we have here is a correlation of students in grades 3 through 8 who took the end-of-year iReady assessment in reading and correlated that with the end-of-year obvious CAS state test. We have that for the past 3 years, and we're showing incredibly high, really strong correlation here. So over each bar, that first number that you see, those are the number of students in the correlation. And the number underneath it is the actual correlational value. Now, correlation can be kind of hard to conceptualize for some folks. So we provided a guidance here about how to qualify that. And as you can see, very, very, very strong correlation. Some of the highest I've ever seen, actually, for this particular assessment. So we've got for ELA, reading, we've definitely got a very valid test, and it's going to give us great information as we move through the year and not have to wait until the end of the year to find out how we're doing. Next slide, please. So this, again, we're doing the same type of analysis, correlation, excuse me, but for math, we see even higher correlation here. So grade assessments, so what does this mean? It essentially means that if you do poorly on iReady, you're likely to do poorly on CAS. If you do well on iReady, you're likely to do well on CAS. And one of the many uses of that is we can get a rough predictor, as early as September, how we think that we're going to be doing by the end of the year. So a lot of great information here. But as great as this is, we still need to dig deeper. We need more information. We need finer details. But before we go through that, are there any questions about this correlation information?
What analytical test method did you use?
So we just use straight correlation, Pearson correlation coefficients.
Okay, I have a twofold question for you. So you talked about autopsy. And iReady, what do we pop it 3 times a year?
Correct.
Okay. So we're doing an autopsy 3 times a year?
But on a current cohort of student.
Right.
on the current cohort of students.
I have a couple questions on the stat, and then I'll come back to that. It says here in grade 3, if you look under the blue line, it says 1952. Are those the number of students we have?
Correct.
And then I go all the way to 8th grade, and we're down to 1,600?
So it's the number of students who take both assessments. They take CASP and they take the end of year iReady as well.
So I'm looking at 8th grade, and I'm looking at grade 3. Do we lose that many students?
We don't lose that many students, but not all the students will be taking both exams.
Why?
That could be a variety of different reasons. It could be some of the students are, they may be absent, it's at the end of the year. Could be issues with logistics and getting all those students. There's a lot of testing going on at the end of the year. Could be impactful in that way.
Yeah, you're looking at well over 400 or 500 students. Okay. That was one question. My other question is, iReady, good program. In fact, it mirrors or comes as close as it can to the state test. iReady measures growth and mastery of specific detail. The overall test we give at the end of the year, the CAPS test, all right, did I say that correctly? It's broader in ELA, including writing. Now, does iReady do writing?
No.
And analysis of the writing. Does iReady do that as well? If it doesn't do writing, it's not doing analysis.
We have other assessments that are focused on specifically on writing.
The other thing I found out is it says that students that score a specific score, they had 400 to 626 as their scores that I was looking at. If they just score and then there's no improvement, they don't do well on the state test. But if they do have a succession of improvement on iReady, they will do better on the state test. That's from what I've read. Is that correct?
Yes, it can be.
Okay. So with that said, and with the use of iReady, if a kid is not doing well on part 1, what do we do?
Right, so
that would be autopsy 1.
Yeah, so the way I would describe it would be if a student takes the beginning of year test, iReady, and the middle of year, with those 2 points, we can really extrapolate what we think the trajectory for that student might be when they come to the CASP test, for instance, with that correlation.
Right.
So your point is where my brain goes on this would be to say, if I see something happening at beginning of year and I can begin to do something different with that because I see what a student is, where they're performing. If I see at the middle of the year either flat or no change or dip or up, I now can say something I've been doing may have been having an effect on that. Either continue and do more, double down on that, or if it's flat, we've got to make a change. If it's down, we need to send out the red alert. But I've now got a window of time that I've got maybe about 2 or 3 months of instruction before CASP happens to do something about it. So the question for me is, it's going to be in both of those time frames of between beginning to middle, after the middle but before CASP, what are the things that we can do with teaching and learning in those 2 windows of time? Because those are your 2 opportunities to do something about it before a CASP score arrives. So
Yeah, I mean, that's your tier 1 intervention, correct?
that's your tier 1 plus intervention, yes.
Yeah, so when does the teacher fit that in?
I asked the question again, I didn't hear.
When does the teacher be able to fit in tier 1 intervention as they're going along with their curriculum, say in 3rd grade? How do they capture that? Because they know the student's behind in a certain, because you're scaffolding.
Mm-hmm.
They know they're behind. How do they capture that? I'm a linear thinker. I want to know, okay, Johnny, I shouldn't even use that name, student X, all right, is behind in a specific category. Where do I recapture him and at what time? And how do I do that while I'm going about teaching my day? All right?
Right.
Where does that happen?
So Better probably than for me to answer that, I have two teachers that are going to join us up here shortly, and they're going to walk us through some things that they do.
Okay, great.
And I'm sure they have a much better answer, be far more intelligent than anything I could describe. But part of it would be is that in that moment to moment, if a student is struggling right now, the question would be, and they would certainly be able to answer that better than I, is that finding ways to support a student in the moment in the most formative of sense would be the thing to do. So it would be, what can we do and employ strategies that are going to be both beneficial for teacher to deploy because it's efficient, and also for student to do because they can learn more efficiently and more quickly to catch up and stay on track with their peers. So probably the most important thing that can happen in that interaction would be that the quality of Tier 1 instruction be as good as it can be, and that Tier 1 intervention before it has to move to Tier 2 can be done on the spot and with quality, so that students cognitively are able to keep that rhythm and not feel like we're revisiting something 4 days later that may have already sailed.
Right. And that was the goal of the 7th period day at the high school level. Because this is concentrating mainly on elementary?
Well, the data points, yes.
The data points you're showing.
Yes.
We haven't shown anything with the high school level at all. And I get back to, we have first quarter grades. Were there any interventions done on failing students at the time? D's or F's? And I don't know. As a board member, I have no idea what was done.
Mr. Porter,
I
can,
know I'm going too long.
no, Dr. Ball has a question as well.
Dr. Ball, you go right ahead.
Yep.
Thank you.
I could go on for another hour.
Oh, I know you're a data guy. Thank you. Quick question. I'm trying to understand this graph that you have on page 9. I personally think of education as a science. It's never going to be perfect, and it's going to take time. If we see these graphs and we get disillusioned and dissatisfied, we're never going to get the results we desire. So I understand the elementary grades seem like pretty leveled, you know. But when you go into grade 6 on page 9, just from my understanding, the blue on grade 6 is the red on grade 7, the same cohort. And the same cohort is grade 8 green, right?
Yeah, if they advance from one grade to
They
the
advance
next.
from one grade to the next.
Correct.
So it seems like in middle school is really where we need to capture their attention. In elementary school, things are going fine. So can we, from these graphs, kind of focus our attention and give more support to our middle school teachers and students? Is that something that you've considered, and is that part of what we're doing?
It is, yes, that is something we very much consider, and we recognize that as students matriculate out of grade 5 and go to 6 and then 7, 8, that really is the spot where the rubber meets the road. For students to be set up for success, the more successful they can be in that 3-grade span, the more successful they are likely to be in high school. The converse is also true. If students struggle greatly 6, 7, and 8, you're really in a quandary when those students arrive as 9th and 10th graders. And very often that becomes the problem, that students just do not get the traction, and they can slip and make some very terrible choices that can do great damage to their transcript.
I'm looking at it from the satellite view, like
Yes.
looking at it from afar in. I think that's where our focus needs to come into. How are we helping our 6th graders maintain the achievement that they had into their middle school?
And as luck would have it tonight, a 6th grade teacher is here. Couldn't have set that up any better. That was wonderful.
I do have a couple questions, but I'll let you finish your presentation.
I was going to say, can we hold all questions now until the end of the presentation and let them finish, please?
Sure. Okay, so we go on to the next slide. So we're going to come down another bit lower here before we get to the airport. We're going to go from that local data of iReady into how we can become very granular. And this is something that we've been developing in educational services with the help of some of our TOSAs. If you go to the next slide, please. Just to give you an idea, and this is not to necessarily get caught in the weeds of what you see on this dashboard, but I want you to understand what
what we're trying to develop to do this kind of thing so that teachers have this data at their fingertips. And that is to go from the iReady piece where you see math and ELA 3 times a year, how can you get it down to where things are happening even more granular than that? So that teachers can look at where are my students on things such as their DIBELS exam, when they're doing things like early reading, they can have the iReady math and ELA at the same dashboard. They can look at some of these other assessment pieces that you see. The idea being, we recognize that for teachers to have all of that machinery at their fingertips goes a long way. Them being able to look at things and be able to make choices and reflections and decisions as those data points come in as close to as real time as possible makes a big difference. If you go by just big snapshot, that's not enough for teachers to make instructional decisions where they can pivot and make changes with students in ways that are meaningful. So this is just one of those ideas of how to bring it down closer to where teachers can see what's happening with the students in front of them right now and be able to know these are all the things I see with my students, be able to make very wise and smart decisions about what to do instructionally. Are there any questions about that slide? Oh, we're gonna wait, so it's shared. Okay, the next piece now, we're gonna go all the way down to the ground floor then. So we've kind of started all the way with the state level. We did iReady. I showed you that dashboard that we're developing. I now want to invite a couple of our teachers up here to talk a little bit about the things that now go on. Like what actually happens when we talk about how do we improve teaching capacity and student learning capacity, and what do those things look like as teachers are doing this in real time with students in their classes right now. So if I could, I'm going to invite Alyssa Erickson, one of our teachers over at Oakwood, to come up and talk a little bit about some of these artifact photos that you'll see on the screen. So if you go to the next slide, please. So as Alyssa comes up, I'm going to brag a little bit about the 2 schools that are represented tonight. So Alyssa being one from Oakwood. In a moment, I'll invite a teacher from Washington to come up. Whenever you start something like this, where we're working on a thing as lofty as visible learning, it has to start somewhere. Someone has to be the pioneers. And 2 of the schools that were, I guess maybe unlucky enough to say yes first to me when I was out there asking for those that might be interested, it was Oakwood and it was Washington. And I thank their principals, both Cassie Sotelo and Gina Lopez, to be kind enough to say, hey, if we're gonna get it started and do some of this exciting work, would your teachers be game to give it a go? And they were. And Miss Erickson is one of those teachers that did it and has embraced it, and she has some artifacts that are from her and her students. I'm gonna have her walk us through a little bit about what it has meant to her and as she watches her teachers do, or her students do that learning.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Miss Erickson, Oakwood, 3rd grade. I am a 3rd-year teacher, and this is the first year I have felt confident in what and how my students are learning in the classroom. I equate this newfound success to the visible learning strategies I've implemented this year, as you can see. I wish they're a little bit bigger, but you can start to see them a little bit here. Before, teaching all the standards seemed like a very daunting task, but through visible learning strategies I've learned through the district, I've developed the skills to break down these standards into visible steps for both myself and for my students. And you can kind of see, it's a little hard, but those sentence strips, those are the breaking down. So visible learning has helped me explore the curriculum with a student-centered lens, rooted in questions like, what do these students need to know, and how can I facilitate getting them there? Through my visible learning journey, the word clarity, it's become a joke at our school, but it's really rooted us, and it's always been in the forefront of my mind. Visible learning has clarified where my students are currently, where they need to go, while also clarifying what instructional strategies I need to be using in order to get them there. Academically, as you can see kind of on some of these charts, students can find where they currently are, breaking down through these I can statements. They're really hard to see, but I can send you the photos if you'd like them. Through these I can statements, students can see where they currently are and what they're striving for, because the success criteria has been laid out for them in depth. This provides students a clear model of what they're expected to do. As you can see, the posters next to them are those clear models. In addition, it provides clarity for me. Through visible learning, I have these strategies that I can use to affect for those students who aren't there quite yet. I can use these visible learning strategies to affect real current change for my students today, tomorrow, maybe 2 days from now, not 3 weeks from now where I'm still trying to figure out where they are. in their learning. So breaking down these visible learning steps has been so helpful. I've especially seen the benefits of visible learning through my students who did not come into the school year on grade level yet, as providing these clear targets and co-created models has given students roadmaps for their learning. You can see some of the roadmaps here. That card, as you can see, was something that we did in relation with the co-creating the models and the success criteria.
We have another slide if you need it.
Okay, perfect. So yes, that especially seeing students or success for students who have come to us not on grade level yet. The beauty of visible learning is that it's not just for academic clarity, but also for behavior and engagement in class, and I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So as you can see, the third chart over, that is our levels of engagement chart. Now, we created models for engagement in the classroom because I realized a lot of the students don't have a model for what engagement looks like, especially in third grade. We've tied success criteria and models to different levels of student engagement in the class so we can teach how to be engaged in our learning. This has done wonders for my classroom management as students have a reference point for that they can use to self-assess their learning behaviors. And so I started to get into this peer and self-assessment. As you can see, some of the charts here, students are self-assessing. They completed a quick exit ticket, kind of what Dr. Horton was saying about doing quick checks to figure out where our students are. That's some of the student work you can see here. And then going even further than that, in some of the photos, they've been assessing themselves against or to the success criteria that we created together, which has been really awesome. But my next steps in visible learning is going to be using more peer assessment measures with the intent to extend the clarity my students have about their learning targets using peer evaluation tactics. So I can't say enough great things about visible learning. It has been, for a new teacher, especially amazing opportunity for awesome professional development. So thank you.
Thank you. We won't let her get away in case you have questions for her at the end, and then I'll invite Miss Ochoa up from Washington Elementary. As she comes up, I'll brag on her and Washington as well. Their school has also been doing some really deep work in thinking about how to vertically articulate writing, and in particular writing standard 1. We were just working on that just about a week ago, as a matter of fact. So take it away, tell us about 6th grade. Here we go.
Well, good afternoon, or good evening, basically. I teach at 5-6 at George Washington School. My name is Lodi Ochoa. I've been teaching close to 20 years in the district, and I've seen a lot of changes through writing and through math. So I understand some of your concerns and questions that you have. But visible learning in our classroom, as you notice, is very unique. It's very difficult for a combo class. If you just look at the first chart, I actually, we did a narrative, and I think that was an informative essay that we did in the classroom, and I always try to identify what an informative essay is to my students, especially those students, because I have many students who are ELs. And then I also have the learning target, and I break it down through our standard. So students are looking specifically on certain things on their learning intention. Then we look at the success criteria, and these are the bullet points that we look for. And many students, when they write, they do struggle in writing. And a lot of them say, well, I don't know where to start, where I begin. So we access the color coding. So as a team at George Washington, we look at all components. How can we help our students in writing? How can we help our students in math? We start in kindergarten. And in kindergarten, they have color coding, and I know that we've already seen this program with Step Up to Writing before. And I've seen it successful in about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we've seen it. And now I think it's time for us to use the visible learning in clarity with our students and say, okay, now let's get back and let's get serious with this. So we focus mostly on how students can be successful. And the second example would be the essay that a student did in my classroom. Now, they are at a medium level. They're not 100%, but I take what I can get. And I told my students, very good, great job. 2 of my students here, they are peer editing using the success criteria for every, and they're marking off, okay, oh, I see that you did an introduction. I see you did a topic sentence. I see that you followed the color coding. I see there's a transition. So they are giving each other very good support and on that one. Next slide, please. Then we also implement it in math. And in math, we know that students don't read all the problems, even though I already says you read it 3 times. Most students that don't like to read a lot in my class, but if I say, okay, let's take it apart, let's reread it, what do we find? And I use cubes, which is circle, underline, box, expressions, and solve. And instead of me teaching them so much, they teach me a lot. So that's how I can perfect my teaching, and students also perfect their teaching too. Did I meet the qualifications? Did I understand? Using the success criteria in the classroom. And so I also have what the colors mean on one of the last pages. And for intervention for students who do need a lot of assistance, we have an MTS in our classroom. So we do an immediate intervention in our class. And I know that you say, oh, it's 5-6, you don't have time to do intervention. I find time. You know, our success is for our students. And using clarity and visual learning, it's 100%. Thank you.
And on this side, so here comes the return. So Mr. Porter, back to your original question, all the way back at the top of the presentation about how do you impact CASP, California Dashboard data. And on this slide, what I would say is almost like back to your college philosophy class of if A then B, if B then C, then C then D, therefore A and D. The paradox would be if we want to make an impact on the CASP data, don't focus on it. Instead, focus on tier 1 teaching and learning that sounds like what the 2 teachers that just shared sound like. Because if more teaching and learning has impact the way those 2 teachers are rolling that out with kids, where the kids are very engaged in their learning, understand their learning, and are becoming better at their learning, that will impact the scores that we see. So I would put my money on that and double down on that and say if more of that scales out, then those big metrics that seem to stay flat, as you mentioned, like from 2015 to now, I think there is where you can see that have an impact. Now, how quickly does that meter start to move up? Well, I guess it's just, you know, the quicker we can get that rolled out, the better. But what I do know is when I see teachers like that and I meet with them and they talk about what they're doing, I know for certain that that's having a tremendous impact on those kids, without a doubt. I see it, I see the activity, I hear the learning, I see the learning. The kids see their own learning. They see their partners learning. And that's what helps learners learn. So I'll put my money on that. So last slide, there's an addendum slide, but we won't touch that. So back to that, the summary would be, so where do we go from here? Well, the first thing is the first thing, and that's tier 1 instruction plus those supports that we're talking about. How you do, kind of like Ms. Ochoa describing, it's like in the moment, how do I do something to fix students that need some fixing right now? The next thing is really that word about accountability. How are we going to build that accountability in there to say we can have more classrooms doing more work like that and be held accountable to say we want to see that. We want to see good things. We want to see students perform and do great performance. And I believe in the kids. They can do it. And then finally, we've talked some about it and we've heard comments from the board about professional learning, but it's not drive-by professional learning and it's not one and done professional learning. It has to be sustained support. It has to be that we learn and continue learning, and then that accountability piece folds in naturally where we say, let's see that we're learning and that we're improving that and we can work together. No one wants to work alone. And then lastly, I would just add this as a question because I have some presentations coming to the board in the coming weeks as well, would be really, are we built as an ed services team to be able to do that work? And I would say, I think we have some things to do to restructure the way that we do that work so that we can meet the call that's coming to us about how we talk about scaling out the support to the schools and how we get more classroom capacity for more teachers to be doing this, and we can support that work so people feel the support. They don't feel they have to go it alone. So that's where we'll leave it. We have an addendum slide and then we're ready for the questions.
Ms. Linderman had a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'll start with the easy one. And this is on the Pearson correlation, right? I believe there's 5 items that we need to meet in order to utilize it, right? Normality, linearity, or it has to be independent. Were you able to prove that, and are you able to show that you did meet all the assumptions?
Yeah. So we did a linear regressions where we got the correlation from. We looked at normality, and we looked at also with a variance has to be equal across the board. Well, checking for equal variance across the board. So yeah, we use a statistical package SPSS that provides us with all those tests, and it looks strong enough. Nothing's perfect, but we do check for all of them.
Love to sit down and kind of go through that data. Second question was on just those inputs and outputs, being able to take in those lessons learned, understood that it is kind of that postmortem that you're taking, but in critical lessons learned, looking at the constraints of our system, right? And there's many different reasons why people do well and don't do well on tests, or do well or don't do well in life, and have different opportunities presented to them that are outside school. But there are some critical learnings about individual behavior that you can glean from that in terms of how this system and processes operate within our organization, so that you can optimize the organization to see more kids do better. And then the third thing was on accountability. What have you put in place to show that we have accountability in this process to implement consistently across all of the schools in the district in a reasonable timeline, and making sure that you're holding yourself to the same accountability to
As far as the accountability to get that out there, we've been at the visible learning training work for about 12 months now. So for a district of our size to get that out in 12 months, that would be an incredibly fast implementation plan. So at this point, what we are focusing on, and I would say we're on that schedule, would be we have lead teachers, pioneer teachers, if you will, across all the sites. All the principals have been with their teachers, kind of following the research of Vivian Robinson about professional learning works best when a principal is with their teachers. And so they learn together. And so that's been an important part of our thing as well, because as we move out into phase 2 of this, the scaling out is going to be that principals are going to be able to do that training and work at their own site so that we can scale much faster. So first things first was to get our feet on the ground and get the initial implementation ready to go, and that's now there. So I would say at this point we're ready to start moving into kind of phase 2 of that operation, to be able to scale it out so that more teachers in a more rapid time frame can get exposed to this.
What is the acceptance criteria to move from phase 1 to phase 2, and can you show the board results of phase 1?
Yeah, we can. I can bring that back. It'll be mostly in number of teachers served and trained would be our accountability metric so far.
Do you have a more solid accountability plan for your project?
We do. I have a worked out implementation plan that's a 3-year model. I'll be willing to share that as well.
Perfect.
Mr. Porter?
Yes, I don't want to feel like I guess I am pontificating a little bit. First of all, thank you. But for me, the glass is barely filled. None of this relates to high school. A little bit on middle school, as Dr. Ball mentioned, where we lose some of our students in terms of their learning. So in high school, we have nothing from this presentation, really. And my goal as a board member, and I'm sure the other board members feel the same way, is that a 8th grader coming into high school has some idea of what they want to do. And that's where your CCIs come into play, whether it's career or college. And we can be nimble enough if they want to change tracks to provide that. Because right now we don't have a bite for these kids to come in. They're not, I mean, the idea that no child left behind, everybody's going to go to college was great. in its time. But now things have changed, where white-collar jobs, as I said earlier, are changing, and electricians are making over $170,000 a year. We need more of them. So for kids to get in and get their certificate of learning, working with CCNI would be great. And that, of course, regard dual enrollment and working with Delta College or maybe some other JC that's more affable. That's something else to talk about down the road. But I am concerned about how we kind of push off the CAPSA scores, the state scores, and say, well, we've got this. It's not working. We're still bumbling along. Now, if you're telling me you're going to restructure, blow things up, and we're going to try some new things, awesome. And I agree with you that accountability is huge. And that begins with the principals at the site. And then it also begins on whose accountability to the principals and whose accountability to them. Ultimately, it comes back to the board. Okay? So I thought tonight's presentation was good. I love the work from Ms. Ochoa and Ms. Erickson. I hope I said that correctly. It's very inspiring. But what I also see lacking in this overall is teacher empowerment. I don't see PLCs. I see, oh, look at the granular and see how your kids did. I don't see people working together and saying, oh, I did great on this area, let me show you what I can do. You did great in this area, let's collaborate. Now let's do an intervention with student X. And back up. I didn't see that tonight. So when you talked about that test score at the end being an autopsy, we're doing 3 of them along the way. And you got some tier 1 interventions going on, but they're not collaborative. And we're not empowering teachers, which the site principals should be doing, which this office or this building should be doing.
So just to comment on that, because I have to jump in on that.
Go ahead.
The next phase, excuse me, the next phase of our operation is exactly that. It's the PLC process and how we get teachers to be able to collaborate together, because that's the other leg of the 3-legged stool that has to be part of that. So that is coming. First things first was to empower teachers to be able to have ownership over their own teaching capacity.
Correct.
And then it's how to collaborate together to talk about how we're going to impact on students and how we support each other in better strategy and better deployment of those strategies. So that's coming. That's the next piece. But it's one thing at a time. It's a multi-pronged lift to get all of that to happen. But yes.
Mr. Porter, before you go to that, could I just add one
question though? Why does the CDE not show absenteeism at the high school level? Our dashboard.
Yeah, they felt that there were already a lot of metrics. They were being impacted by too many metrics as it was. So for the college career indicator, for example, a lot of those, they felt like it was just heavy, too heavy on that side. So that was their reasoning.
So their absenteeism at the high school level. Is it possible for the board to get a monthly report on how the absentee rates are at the high school?
We do absentee reports, attendance, chronic absenteeism on a daily basis. So for district, for school sites, and we do that K through 12.
It would be possible for 9 through 12 to see those reports, because that's been in my mind. And again, I'm just a high school teacher, 30 years. Most of your absenteeism is probably going to be at the high school level, because you're dealing with, what have we got, 8,000 students at all the high schools total? I think that would be the area we concern ourselves most with student attendance. Obviously, the K through 8 is important, but at the high school level, we need them in the classroom, personally, and we don't have that data. The board never sees that data. That's my last statement. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Mr. Young.
Yes, Mr. Porter, 2 things in response. We do have on the website under reports, it's under the about, you click on about and reports, it'll give you the daily attendance at each of your high schools. That is there for the public to see daily. And so that can be looked at separate from like chronic absenteeism. So that's one piece. The second is, with both Oakwood School and Washington School having representation here, what you're talking about with PLCs, and that's going to be rolling out for the board to see as we continue down this road. But both of those sites and the work they're doing is looking at those essential standards, looking at those important pieces. And they are doing that on a weekly basis. In fact, I would love to go with you. We can go to Washington and we can go to Oakwood so you can see that they are doing that at grade levels, they're doing it vertically, and they are pinpointing, which you can see on SBAC, because it doesn't matter what year it is, you can look and see consistently what standards, the big rocks, are our kids not understanding. And the work they're doing at both of their school sites is that very thing, which I know for you is a passion of yours. Our goal as we talk about accountability is how do we make that happen across the district? And we're not just talking elementary, we're talking high school, because those standards do move up. But for a report that is really looking at the SBAC test scores, the CASP, we have 3rd through 8th grade. And then for some reason the state believes don't touch it until 11th grade. So that's a challenging gap to build into this report. But the standards, and the standards our students don't understand consistently year after year, that's the information. We can't look at it and change it. We can look at the instruction and the focus within PLCs. We will be bringing that back to you to understand that part of that accountability is accountability to knowing those essential standards and having time built in weekly for teachers to discuss those. So I just want to make sure you understand. We get that, we've heard you clearly, and that is work that is happening that we need to replicate across the district.
Thank you for your time, and thank you, board, for putting up with me. It's just something I'm very passionate about going forward. And thank you for all of you.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Novick.
Yes, I have a question for the 2 teachers that taught. All those students that you have, do they know how to read? Are they at grade level? What do you do with the ones that don't know how to read?
Again. I can tell you what we're doing currently. So what happens, talking about the diagnostic with the dibbles, what happens is at the beginning of the year we get the diagnostic report, right? Whether it's iReady, we're using dibbles as well in 3rd grade specifically, it's very important. What happens then is we have daily interactive practice for students with a credentialed teacher, whether it's a TOSA, which we're very lucky at our site we have, whether it's PLC collaboration between myself and my teammates. Daily, we are addressing through the SIPS explicit phonics instruction, as well as tying in the some of the intervention supports from Journeys. And so we're intervening every single day. Our site has built-in intervention time specifically for reading every single day, which has been amazing for us. But to answer your question, what we're doing is then taking the DIBBLES data, the progress monitoring assessments that they provide through there, some of the fluency aspects that we've been using, some of the fluency assessments that we've learned through our TOSA, which has been helpful. We take that and then we are using that through our daily intervention for students among multiple different levels. Because we have some students that are, but then we have a lot of students that are at many different levels below grade levels. So that all is tied in through these formative assessments that Dr. Horton was saying, because I can intervene on that now. So the diagnostics are really great for telling us where they're at when they come to us, where they're at in the middle of the year, and where they're leaving us at. But everything else we do in between is formative assessment data that's being intervened on every single day.
What do you do with your accelerated students?
Our accelerated students are being met with another credentialed teacher during that intervention time to enrich them. Right now, our focus has been comprehension at different levels of knowledge. So one of our teachers pulls those students, it's usually about 20 minutes every single day, going through different strategies to promote depths of knowledge, especially with text. 3rd grade, we're really going through text. So that's what we're doing for those kids.
Outstanding, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Any other questions? I'd like to thank you, Ms. Erickson and Ms. Ochoa for staying so late and for presenting very well. Dr. Horton, Mr. Donman, thank you for starting this ball rolling and giving us information tonight. I really appreciate all of your time tonight.
My classroom is room 10 at Oakwood Elementary. If anybody's ever interested in what we're doing, you are more than welcome to come. I would love that.
What room is that?
Yes. Room 10 at Oakwood Elementary.
Thank you.
Yes. We do. We have our short Wednesdays though, because we have our PLC time on Wednesday. So Wednesdays are not a good day. Come a different day.
Thank you very much. Next, board members, are there any board advisory? Oh, Jeff.
Well, I just have one quick.
Mr. Stroh, come on.
That's okay.
We can fill it.
No, I want to thank you guys doing the presentation, and great to see Mrs. Joa. We go back, what, 30, 35? Yeah, you started in my class with LUSD, and I think I observed Ms. Erickson's classroom, right? You share with McKinley, some of the students? Yeah, okay. Thank you for presenting. I just want to say thanks for being here.
Any advisory committee reports, board members? We have a policy committee meeting next week that we will do. And any comments from the board? Dr. Bob?
No, welcome to the new year.
Thank you. Mr. Porter?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the dual enrollment numbers and how we're doing on dual enrollment. I also want to see how we're doing on career in terms of getting their certifications for these young people. They want to go into the trades, which I think is incredible. My father was a tradesman. He was a very smart man. He loved his job, loved what he did. That, I'd like to see how we're doing with certification and articulation with San Joaquin Delta College. I think it's a great opportunity. I know the state has put a lot of money into it. So I want to see our college and career numbers and how we're doing. I believe today was the first day for kids that are doing dual enrollment. And I would like to know those numbers and how we're doing. I think the board's supposed to vote on something with the CCAP, aren't we? Probably not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. And then, of course, what was the other thing that I wanted to mention? I think that is going to be one of the big lightning bolts for this district if we can get that up and going. And I know it's difficult to work with the JCs, so good luck on that one. Yes. Okay.
Mr. Nava?
I have nothing.
Mr. Stroh?
I have a couple things. First, I went to the pruning contest, and I want to give a big shout out to Tokay FFA and the number of people they had. There was 70 plus people there, but 40 of them couldn't make it because of the safety of driving in the fog up the valley. And so the parents were concerned, and also the teachers. Also Joe Valente, who 3 of his kids went through Tokay High, and now his grandson is, through the FFA program. He really brought me in and showed me around, and I sat and talked with one of the judges, who's an assistant vineyard manager for Couch Farm, and they're a huge supporter of Couch Farm. And he turned out, he was one of my ex-students also, and he went through FFA there, and his sister was FFA president back in the day, and, a decade ago, not back in the day, but she's now teaching in Lodi Unified over at Lockford School. So it but the FFA was a great experience and for them both. We talked about it. So it was really good, plus I learned a little bit about modern pruning because it's changed since 50 years when I did it all through high school. So it's different now.
You remember that far?
Yeah, vineyard's still there. They can't pick it because it's handpicked. And also one thing, when we went to the thing, I talked to a couple people at the school board convention in Sacramento, and I was going to ask some people, and then vacation time, everything got the thing, but there's a lot of apprentice programs coming around, and I don't know if our district's doing any of it, but I know it's kind of rare in a lot of districts. I left my other notebook at home, but not internships, but apprentices where the kids are actually doing it. And like you were saying, a metal worker can come out, 20-year-olds are making $120,000 to $150,000 a year in some of the trade. Yeah, welders, steel workers, welding, plumbing, wiring. So they had their booths all set up there, and we're really pushing apprentice programs. It's not internships, so anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
Ms. McFarland?
Nothing. Thank you.
Ms. Lenderman?
Oh, well, for next board meeting.
For next board?
Next board meeting.
Okay.
Dissertation.
And basically, I wanted to welcome everybody back. Hope they had a great 3-day weekend as well. And officially, meeting is